everybody. I'm Rasschla, and I'm here with Xita and WiredWicky, who are, yeah, we can applaud for them, of course.
Thank you.
Who are gonna do a link to the past randomizer multiworld showcase, I believe. That's
Yeah, that's correct.
that's a long category. So let's start immediately. What's a multiworld?
A multi-world is basically we roll two different seeds, so Wiki's game will be different from mine, but our collective items will be shuffled between both worlds. So I can find items for myself and for WiredWiki and the other way around. So we need to keep in mind what we can do when to make sure the other one can progress into, their own game.
And well, you say that like you would find items for Wiki and the other way around, but how are you gonna send those items to Wiki?
Basically, we use a little tool that allows it to connect with each other. So, and that tool will it's like a little bit of a server, and that server will make sure that the items are sent correctly.
So you're actually saying a game from the early 90s is connected to the internet?
Hey, technology came for you.
Impressive. And with two worlds, I can imagine there's so much randomness. Like one randomizer is already hard to prepare for because there's so much randomness. And now there are two. How do you prepare for such a thing?
Well, I think we play multi-worlds on a weekly base by now. So
Even sometimes like multiple times a week.
yeah, so we've been doing this for like over a few years. I think we got it down pretty well.
I mean, this is just the most normal mode.
Yeah.
We just play an open 7-7, which is like, for people who are not known with the game, it doesn't say that much, but it's basically get all the 7 crystals, go to Ganon's tower, which is the final tower, and then beat the final boss, Ganon. And that's basically our goal, but there are so many more variations that you could do. But we chose to, because it's a showcase, we chose to do the most viable option, basically.
And what's the thing that you're the most scared of at the moment for the multiworld?
Oh, something for progression in Ganon's tower, I guess, or like in pendant dungeons where you don't have the items for. For example, a Turtle Rock, you need a lot of items to get in. Not having those items and then an important item for Wiki being there, that's one of the things I'm pretty scared of. Don't know about you.
I'm gonna jinx us, but I'm not scared for anything.
Oh boy.
Famous last words. So, I've heard that there's such a thing like BK mode. What's that actually?
BK mode came up like years ago somewhere. There was a large group of people playing a multi-world, and at some point someone was not able to do anything anymore. Like he was completely barren of checks, and I think that took over like an hour before he was like waiting, and he's like, okay, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go to Burger King and get something to eat. And even when he came back with like his food, he still was unable to do anything. So that's why they refer to that as BK mode. You don't have any checks left in your game, so you have to wait for the others.
Yeah, a little side note on that. In a 2-player multi-world, that doesn't happen that often, unless one of us makes like a mistake and forget to pick up an item. But I don't think that's gonna happen to us.
Don't jinx us.
I keep jinxing us.
It's
It's
fine.
fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
But if you play with you can play this with
20.
whatever many people.
We can play it with the
And,
entire venue.
Yeah, if we want, yes. But then we need a bigger marathon, a longer running marathon, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't happen a lot with 2 players that you get in BK mode. But we'll see. We'll see.
But in the rare moments that we will have a BK mode tonight, what are you guys gonna do?
What we do best, break the game. At least, for example, a lamp is logically required to progress through dark rooms, as we know them. You can technically do them without a lamp. One of our practice seeds, my lamp was in such a rare spot that I just decided to go and do everything in the dark, because why not? I know a few overworld glitches that can get me into places I shouldn't be in yet, but I hope we don't have to use those.
I mean, I want. It would be fun actually to show that off. Like, what can
Yeah.
you do when you're in quote-unquote BK mode, but there's still stuff you can do out of logic.
Yeah,
And you
true.
will see us go out of logic, like sometimes I think.
Yeah.
We both know the game quite well, and we also always take into account the items we picked up. Which items we picked up are not in logic, so we know where our logical progression most likely would be, and then
Yeah.
go there first, just to make sure that we keep like the logic inside. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you guys actually play almost every weekend, at least, a multiworld.
Yeah.
What's the worst multiworld seed that you've ever played?
Well, that's a rough one.
Honestly, I would have no clue. I have had like, I'm not gonna lie. Lately, with the logic, once every while they change the logic in the seeds and they call it a new version. So we're now at V31.
0.5 or something.
Point whatever. But since the last update, I consider most seeds trash.
Yeah, most of them are like you have double, triple dips into dungeons because you find an item in the first chest that leads you somewhere else. There you find the item that you need to go deeper into that dungeon to find your final item to go back to another dungeon and then find another item to beat the boss of the first dungeon.
Yes.
It's like
and
not fun.
Obviously, you just want to go into the dungeon and clear it in one go. But sometimes logic just requires you to actually go there multiple times for progression items.
Yeah.
Like the worst, I can tell about one of the worst seats I've had lately.
Yeah.
Turtle Rock is a dungeon that's in the vanilla game. It's pretty much the last dungeon you do before you go to the final tower, and you need a couple of items to beat it. And I had one progression item that led to another, that led back to the dungeon for another progression item that I need to go for another to another dungeon to find my last progression item to be Turtle Rock. So it was an actually hard required triple dip, and that's not fun.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Let's hope that it's not going to happen later today. But we have had A Link to the Past a lot of times at BSG already. Like, we have done normal runs, we've done races, we've done SMC3 combined with Super Metroid, we've done co-ops, and now we're going to do multiworld. What's next?
Do you really want to know?
Well, there are a few game modes that make the thing even interesting, like even more. Like you can shuffle entrances, you can shuffle the rooms inside of the dungeons. Those are modes that we are familiar with, but I feel like for the wider audience are really hard to follow along. Like if you don't know the game, you'll get lost. If you know the game, you most likely still get lost. But I saw KC looking at me like, because there is a multi-world version called Archipelago, which combines even more games than just A Link to the Past with each other, and that could be very fun to show off at one time.
Yeah, you have, for example, you can mix up one is playing A Link to the Past, a second player is playing Slay the Spire is part of it.
Yep.
Of course, Super
StarCraft
Metroid,
2.
StarCraft 2 is part of it. There are so many games, and it gets more and more games.
Yep, they're also
over
thinking
time.
of adding Pokemon randomizer, so who knows, maybe one day we'll see someone play Pokemon whilst another play A Link to the Past, whilst another play StarCraft.
So
Who
there's
knows?
still enough for us to do. So a last question. I know you guys, when you play multiworlds, you like to call out items where they are and for who they are.
Oh no.
I'm gonna start a bet with you guys now. You both may make a guess for the last required item, which item it is, where it is, and for who it is. And for every correct one, I'm gonna donate €5 to BSG.
Oh boy, so last location per person, which location, right?
No, just the last item
And where?
of the whole multiworlds.
To be in full go mode.
Yeah, to be in full go mode.
A sword for me in Ice Tea Room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sword is kind of odd because you have 4 swords and you only need 2. But
We had the practice seed.
I would probably say Hook shot for Xita in your own ice palace.
Oh,
I'm just gonna say big chest.
Oh boy.
Okay, so Ice Palace, Xita, and one is a hookshot, one is a sword. Well, we're gonna see it in like 40
hour?
minutes or so. So
Yeah.
thanks for me joining for this interview. I hope for you guys the best luck, and I'm gonna give it back to the host.